You're listening to The Inner Voice with Dr. Foojan Zeine, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine and welcome to The Inner Voice Show. This show is about making a difference in your life so that you can create a free mind and a heart filled with love toward creating a fulfilled life for yourself and everyone around you. I will bring you the latest research in the realm of human sciences and will talk to experts in their field to bring you the jewel of their knowledge and wisdom. Let me tell you about my latest book, Life Reset, the Awareness Integration Path to Creating a Life You Want. The latest psychological model has been presented to you in a series of exercises which you can complete in your own time. And in this series of questions, you can talk about love, about your marriage, about who you are, about career, money, sex, parents, the future, and all of it. So the exercise will take you to look at and how to life can be reset by you. The awareness integration has been researched and published with many groups, and the latest one was with Cal State Long Beach students, which resulted in 68% decrease of depression and anxiety in a very much of a self-study format, the same way you have it in the book. So if you like to get the Life Reset book from my website, go to Foojan.com, F as in Frank, OOJAN.com. If you like to consult with me, you can come to my offices in Beverly Hills, Woodland Hills, or Irvine, or you can talk to me online. I love to meet with you online. Again, go to my website, Foojan.com, and connect with me. And if you like to talk to me, just go ahead and email me any questions you have or any questions that you have from our experts. We'll be right back with the most wonderful people that I've ever known and the most beautiful topic, Dr. Harville Hendrix and Helen Hunt, and the topic of love. Happy Valentine's, everyone.
I can see tears. I see a choice, love or fear. What do you choose? I can see peace, or I can see war. I can see sunshine, or I can see a storm. What do you choose? No, I choose to love where freedom flies from my heart, where the light keeps shining. And I choose to feel the whole world crying for the strength that we can rise above. I choose love.
Choose Love by Sean Galloway. Happy Valentine's, everyone. I am so excited to have Dr. Helen Hunt and Dr. Harville Hendrix, who are partners in life and work. Their lives and work are integrated in their commitment to the transformation of couples and families and to the evolution of a relational culture that supports universal equality. Harville and Helen co-created Imago Therapy and Theory, co-founded Imago Relationships International, which trains and supports therapists around the world. Harville and Helen also created, with other relational therapists, scientists, artists, and business professionals, a non-profit organization called Relationship First. The organization contributes to the creation of a relational culture through the distribution of new insight from the relational sciences. To demonstrate the impact of new relational insights on large populations, they co-initiated Safe Conversations as a citywide experiment to raise the joy index of a whole city, Dallas, Texas. They've authored New York Times bestseller, Getting the Love You Want and Keeping the Love You Find, and Giving the Love That Heals. These 3 books, I want everybody to know, that were my textbooks and giving it to every single client for the past 25 years. They are amazing books. Now, their latest book, Making Marriage Simple, and 6 other books and manuals and out-of-the-box programs are also something they created together. Harville and Helen are currently working on the professional text for Imago Therapy, as well as supporting research projects leading to evidence-based status. Harville Hendrix is a couples therapist with more than 40 years of experience as an educator, clinical trainer, a lecturer whose work has appeared on Oprah 17 times. And Helen has partnered in the authorship of 10 books on relationships and her co-creation and distribution of Imago, the sole author of Faith and Feminism. She was installed in the Women's Hall of Fame for her leadership in the global women's movement. Welcome, Helen and Harville, to my show. Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, welcome to the show.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that the voices are being heard.
I can hear you clearly, and you're on
Great.
live.
Oh,
So
okay.
go ahead.
All right.
Yes. Dr. Hendrix, hi. I haven't heard from you yet. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. So I know that both of you, I don't know if you recall or not, I've been trained as an Imago therapist, and I have actually gone to many of the seminars with my partner into the Imago Therapy. And it's one of the most efficient and I could say heartfelt theories and therapy modes that I've ever experienced, and have brought it into my sessions with my couples. And I know that the two of you are consistently working on the theory and the model and creating it in a whole different way. And I know that the latest one that you are doing is, because of the Valentine's, is a month of love and a month of the moment that we're putting our relationships first. And you're starting this beautiful conference about love. So let us know about it.
Well, it's Helen, shall I say that? Or do you want to do it since you've been working on it more than I have?
Why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Well, the month of love means that we have a workshop that has been filmed in high resolution and edited that will be available online to be downloaded for free. It's about 3.5 to 4 hours with a manual that comes with it for anybody who wants to download it across the world and go through it and participate in it, either with a group or with their own partner for the month of February. So that's why we're calling it a month of love. Instead of just getting everybody to do it in one day, we're making it available for a full year. And it's a workshop that was filmed in front of an audience last February and is therefore now available for people to download at will. So that's what we mean by the month of love. And Helen, you want to add anything to that?
I think just that it's been gratifying to come to Dallas with Harville's idea of, we love doing Imago Therapy, especially for the difficult couples. But it's so simple now that for people who can't afford therapy, this should be available for them. Also, it's just everyone needs to learn this stuff. When you apply for a marriage license, it should be like a driver's license. We figured out how to teach people how to talk so they can stay connected. It's a teachable system now. Keeping love in your life is now teachable. You can teach people how to do it, and we can teach the person before they get married, and before they get their marriage license, and they have to show proficiency, that they know what to do before they get their license, like driving. And this stuff's so simple it could be taught in school. Reading, writing, arithmetic, relationship. Would not that be a great world if we were learning this in school? So
I totally agree.
Dallas has been very receptive in terms of
I totally agree with what
the
you're
different populations that are interested. Yes, many people here interested.
Yeah, something that you're saying that's just so important is we see many people go into relationships with a lot of expectations from how the other person should be and how the marriage should be and how the relationship should be. And then somehow they walk into the concept of the relationship with the expectations and not knowing how to communicate and how to even share their expectations and how to negotiate. And I know this form of the conversation and the way of the speaking and the listening that gets shown through the Imago theory and therapy really presents a very simple tool to a very deep and profound concept of conversation and being with each other and opening the space for each other and opening the space of your own listening in your heart to capture what the other person says, because without this type of communication between the two, there can never be a we and an us. It's just two people constantly monologuing side by side versus having an actual moment-to-moment dialogue and understanding of who they are and what their needs are. Can you say a bit more about your finding throughout these years about how people are not a good listener and how can be, and what are the ways of presenting yourself into this communication mode and the conversation first that you're bringing, that it makes you offer this teachable, easy, simple tool to such a profound concept?
Yeah.
Well, Harville, why don't I say something? Say something about this and toss it to you? So basically, the safe conversation process, you make sure that you heard what they said. I mean, it's a great first question because so many of us, this is the problem. We don't listen well. And we answer our partner, and our answers don't feel good to them when they're talking. And so that's why we start with mirroring. Before you really begin a conversation, if someone says something, their partner first says, well, let me see if I've got it. You mirror, and that's how you learn to listen well. And I could say more about that, but Harville, why don't you take over?
Okay. I think the first thing is about people not listening. And there are two or three reasons for that. People who research listening accuracy say that human beings tend to receive with accuracy anywhere between 13 and 18% of what they hear, and that accuracy rate has to do with their not being distracted or disturbed. But if they're distracted, the rate goes down. But if they're disturbed, like have an emotional reaction, then the listening accuracy is 0. Which means then that anything they say back or any behavioral response that they take will be based upon a distorted message, which will confuse the speaker about why they're responding that way, because the speaker knows that's not what they said, and then they will say something back, and that's one of the typical ways that couples and all human beings, but particularly couples who have so much emotional meaning invested in each other and in each other's words because of the nature of relationship, that becomes then the basis for the chronic disconnect that many couples experience most of the time, and what puts them into a power struggle. And the second thing that makes the power struggle and the distorted listening so predictable is that when most of us fell in love, we fell in love with a person who was at the unconscious level. We didn't consciously, none of us consciously pick our partners, unless you just pick somebody that you don't feel very strong about. But if you pick the person that you fell in love with, that you're attracted to, you have positive emotion toward, which we call the romantic experience, that person will be a person with similarities to your caretakers, and they will have traits that will trigger in you memories of frustrations with the caretaker in getting your needs met. And what we now know about that is that leaves a unmet need inside your memory, and that need is connected in the infant and child with survival, so that the need for that satisfaction never goes away unless by some extenuating circumstance caretakers or somebody else in later life, who may be a substitute caretaker, meets that need. But usually, and for most people, that's not met. So what happens is that you marry that person, or set up nowadays a long-term relationship in which you live together. In either case, if you fell in love, you have a distorted picture of the person that you fell in love with. And the distorted picture is that you will see them as people who really want to meet your needs, who are a particular kind of traits, and so you'll expect them to exhibit those traits. And when they do not, or when they differentiate from you and tell you who they are instead of the person that you think they are, or they're having the thought they're having instead of the thought you think they're having, it's very hard for us to hear that, because reality is very difficult to distinguish fantasy from reality, and it's very difficult to give up fantasy for reality.
Right.
So the listening distortion increases with the degree to which we are hoping that our partner will function the way we want them to function, by saying and doing the things that we need and want them to do.
And also,
so that's really contributed to the frustration.
Yeah. Also, it seems that, as I'm hearing you, that when I've been, for example, used to reacting to my mother a particular way, to my father a particular way, and watch their relationship and their reaction, that somehow, as I find my mate, and I kind of presuppose whatever it was subconsciously about my childhood and my parents onto them, that I, regardless of who this person is and how they act, that I'm going to also act out whatever that I had learned from my childhood onto today, here and now, and together, versus the reality of what's happening. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's particular and most poignant and powerful between intimate adult partners. Because of the meaning that the partner has associated with memories of caretakers from childhood that are similar. So it's very poignant. But it's also a human thing that we think crosses into all different relationships, that we have this problem of the other, i.e. the other as they are in themselves, whether it's your boss or your child or your employee or employer, your partner, or your friend. We have this problem with the other, that they are made up by us in our image, of the image that we need them and need for them to be. And whenever they show up as themselves, as the true other, that is a shock to our perception and usually triggers anxiety, like now we're out of control and things are not showing up like we anticipated. So we have to do something about it. And usually what we ask and try to do about it is to make the other go away. To say, no, you're not really like that. I don't think you see it that way. Or that's not how I've been experiencing you. I thought so-and-so and so-and-so. This is what I expected. In other words, we try to annihilate the other as when they show up as other, rather than saying, Helen and I have the phrase that Helen came up with long ago called when you're triggered, go to curiosity rather than judgment, and discover who this person really is who's talking, rather than reacting to the person that you wish they would be.
Right.
That the curiosity piece is so important.
Well, it seems like when we set up someone to be the one we want, then we also have a sense of entitlement about it. So when they try to show up as somebody else, versus the one we said they would, then our sense of entitlement also shows up, and it's like that's not allowed. So I can see where Helen says, would it be nice if you let go of the entitlement and look at the curiosity of who's in front of you, to maybe have the option of actually meeting the person you actually chose.
Yes.
Right. We tell our couples it's so beautiful when they gaze at each other's eyes at the altar the day they get married, and they pledge, now you and I become one, and they pledge their lives to each other forever. But often, as a person says, you and I are one, they're thinking unconsciously, well, I'm the one. I hope you're going to do everything I want my way.
Yes.
And so it's sort of, they get home and they suddenly realize their partner has so many opinions different from them. So, yes, instead of immediately judging them, shifting from judgment to curiosity is an important guideline. We talk about judgment to curiosity and wonder.
Yes. Now, you have, both of you have also coined the term zero negativity. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Sure. Shall I do that, Helen?
Well, I'll begin.
Okay.
Yeah, this was, we thought Imago Therapy was finished, but sometimes crisis results in an opportunity, and Harville and I, the theory was great. Imago Therapy in theory was working perfectly for other therapists and other therapist clients, but sadly we hadn't figured out how to bring it home. And we tried, and it just didn't, it just had not become part of the way we lived our life. So we actually were talking to therapists, and that didn't work, so we were talking to a divorce lawyer. Oh my goodness. So before divorcing, we gave it one last chance, and we said, let's create an exercise that is not in Imago Therapy yet, and maybe that'll help us. And we did, and it saved our marriage, and we call it zero negativity. And it goes like this, that we have a calendar, and every day I try to function in Harville's life where I go through my day in a way that he doesn't experience put downs from me, and he does the same. Now, I didn't realize all the put downs I was giving to Harville. I'm devoted to him, and I wanted to try to help him with his life, and I was just pretty regularly trying to improve him, because that was my job as his wife, was to show him how he could dress better and how he could look better in public and how he could say things better. And I'll tell you, he was miserable living with me, even though I had all this great advice. And I wasn't even going to charge him for all. I mean, I'm a really good person at offering people good advice. And he didn't, to him that was negative. And I went, you're kidding. So I had to learn, there are plenty of other people that can advise Harville on how to dress or speak better if Harville really needs that. But my job was to accept him and look for all the things he was doing right and didn't need to have advice about. And then he had ways he had been negative to me that he didn't know about. So every day we would go through a day. If there was negativity, there was a frowny face. And if we made it through the day with no negativity, there was a smiley face on that day. So we literally, night by night by night, checked and learned to be together. And we say with zero negativity, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And we can teach you to talk about anything in your relationship, but in a way that doesn't put the person down. So that's the zero negativity process that became part of Imago Therapy.
I remember going to Pasadena for a lecture about Imago Therapy, and Harville was there. And I remember this was right at the time that this was happening for the two of you. And I remember Harville coming in and with a little bit of a snark says, yes, Helen told me to wear this today. And then everybody laughed, and he talked about, and he also talked about, what he had felt, and then he was talking about how the communication was going in a positive way and how you guys had tried to put this in a positive way. But it was right at the time that this question was coming up, that we're all learning as therapists and how to do Imago Therapy and working it so well into the system, but then what happens to the anger. And I remember myself going with, at the time, my mate to one of the seminars for us as couples who were actually working through the workshop. And I remember this concept of having the ability to talk in such a loving way, but then the anger that was in the behind was still brewing. So although we were understanding and everything was going, but the anger was brewing inside, and that wasn't coming out, or that entitlement to the anger. And I could see how much from that time till now with what you're explaining and learning it on my own also in my relationships, that this concept of the entitlement of I'm here to fix you and I'm entitled to what I want and therefore you need to shift for me or I'll be angry at you, it kind of erodes all the love that is there from underneath. So no matter how the picture is beautiful, underneath is eroding.
And to add to that, Helen has a great ability to intuit very important nuances, and one of the ones that goes with curiosity, and she mentioned it, is wonder. And what happens that we've discovered with our own relationship, as well as couples who do it, is that when they go with curiosity about the other, and that curiosity is continued. There's not just like one curiosity response, but it's genuine interest in the and curiosity about who this other person is. That they finally discover this other person is more beautiful than the person in their imagination.
Yes.
And that when that happens and that beauty begins to be experienced in small and then later on in large ways, the partner becomes a being of wonder because they live in another universe. They live in another emotional system. They have a different cognitive world. They have a different body. They have different body's responses and sensations. And so if a person goes with that with curiosity, then they are the participants in another universe of a human experience as plus their own. And they don't then have to wipe out that beauty in order for themselves to exist. They are expanded by that beauty into being, having a greater consciousness about what human beings are and what kind of universes there are. And what that triggers then, once you get that clear with one person, then you realize every person you meet is a unique universe. And that instead of then being judgmental about how they look and what they might be saying, you become curious. You know you're going to cross the bridge into another universe. It's almost like quantum physicists now say that our universe, they think, is not the only one, but that we are one among many big bangs and that we live in a multiverse. So can you imagine what those other universes must be like if we're allowing ourselves to allow for difference? And that's basically all it is allowing for difference. And like that's one of our phrases, is that the major reason for conflict between intimate partners is the objection to difference. And if you allow for difference and accept it, and not just begrudge it, but accept it and explore it, then you are enriched by your own curiosity.
And it makes life much more fun to have this diversity and to look at other people not as our clone, but as the beauty that they have. It's really entertaining to look at people and get entertained in a beautiful way, versus constantly getting bored in similar expectations that we hold upon ourselves and others consistently. I know that you wrote a book called Space Between. What's in that book?
What's in that book? Wow. Helen, let me start off with that, and then you pick up on it, because there's so much in this, again, that another piece I'd mentioned, that Helen is so creative in the intellectual and theoretical part of this, as well as in the operational side of it with couples. But what I'm meaning by this is that the book Space Between, that title has its origins in Helen's early being enamored by the book called The I-Thou relationship. And the I-Thou relationship has a hyphen between the I and the thou. And Martin Buber, who wrote that book, said that the hyphen is basically reality, and that it holds the I and the thou together, and that when there's no judgment or criticism, that God shows up in the space between. And then he also later on says love shows up in the space between. And Helen brought that term, space between, into Imago Therapy many years ago, actually over my objections. It was a time when I was very, very much embedded in what we now call the individual paradigm. And in that individual paradigm, you pay attention primarily to what is inside people. And you explore that, and you help them arrive at insights and at new views of themselves, and with the assumption that they, as a result of internal work, will be able to live differently in the relational world, in the outside world. And what we've discovered over time is that there's a slight flaw in that hypothesis, that what really is important is how people interact in the space between them, how they interact with each other, not what they do in this space between populates their interior world, their subjective world, with memories. And that if you just go in and look at the memories, all you get is the past. But if you change your behavior in the present, then, and that behavior, whether it's positive or negative changes, gives you new memories that then alter the configuration of memories that are inside your hippocampus. And that what we've discovered over time is if we pay attention to couples how they interact with each other rather than to what they think and feel and their history, but how they interact with each other and get them to interact differently, that their relationship changes much faster than if you simply pay attention to the more traditional psychotherapeutic model of exploration. You get better, then you can have a better relationship. We say, no, you have a better relationship and then you get better. That the relationship influences, in other words, what happens in the between impacts what is in the within. So it's a little shift from traditional psychotherapy. And as we kept working with this, we're also students of other disciplines like brain sciences and quantum mechanics. And in reading quantum mechanics, we've become aware that we can say that the space between is not just a romantic notion or a therapeutic device or another phrase for relationship. You could say that. But that in fact, the space between is real, that it's a part of the structure of nature itself, and that it is in fact participates in and is an instance of what quantum physics call the quantum field, and that between, therefore, any two people, there's not just emptiness, but there's a fullness in that betweenness. What looks like nothing is really something, and that when we interact with each other, we stir up the energy in the quantum field, and that energy then washes over us in a positive or negative way, depending on what energy we've put into the field. So what we're now helping couples do is be aware that any behavior they engage in this is directed toward another person will in fact impact them, because that's the way nature is set up. Is that what you do for others? You disturb the field, you're in the field, you disturb the field, then you get the consequence of the disturbance. If it's positive, you get blessed. If you put negative stuff in, therefore it'll be negative energy, then you'll be injured by what you do. So it's a basis for thinking about almost as a moral dimension to relationships, which is that the best thing in the world you can do for yourself is to be sure that you take care of the welfare of another person, and especially the people that are closest to you. That it's not so much an imposed morality, but it's a morality that rises out of just how nature itself works.
And it seems like there's a responsibility for each person to really look at what they're offering from themselves into a space. And if they're aware of their offering and what it is that they're putting in the space, then they look at how they've also been a part of creating that result, and then have the power to also shift what they're offering in order to influence the result as is. I'm also
yes.
Perfect. And you were doing a great work, the two of you, in Dallas. It's a whole city. So this is not a small project. This is really a whole city that you're about to influence and create something. So let us know a little bit about the project.
I think that's a good one for you, Helen.
Well, as I said earlier, this is Harville's idea, going that, the beauty of this is couples can even teach this to other couples. Like, it's just so beautiful, because the therapist just coaches a couple to help heal each other. That it's not the therapist that does the healing, but the couple does the healing. And so he said, let's experiment. And after talking to the other relationship scientists, the top ones in the country, they agreed, and they said, let's figure out how to do this and make it more accessible, because the whole world needs this. Everyone is longing to find a better way to talk where we don't frustrate everybody so much. Harville started saying about 2 years ago, talking is the most dangerous thing people do. And until he said it, like people might not have thought of it, but yeah, everyone, all they had to do was say it, and they went, "Yep, that's true."
And recently
and he
tweeting.
says, Helen.
I said, and recently
He
tweeting
says, yes.
has become.
And he says, I'm sorry. Pardon me?
I said, and recently tweeting has become very, very dangerous.
Yes, talking and tweeting, and he said, Helen, you know what we do? All we're doing is teaching people how to talk. That's our lane in the bowling alley. So we came to Dallas, and we didn't really plan to start an organization. We just went around and said, does anyone want this? And an agency in the low income part of Dallas that was serving the parents whose kids were in the public schools, and many of them didn't speak English well. That agency was teaching the parents how to communicate with the public schools and also how to do parenting, better parenting. But they were needing a marriage course. The men were going, my wife and I are fighting. We know how to parent, but our kids can't stand to be around us because we're fighting. Mm-hmm. So they said, do you have anything for our marriage? So they took our workshop that is 14 hours, and couples, they come for a weekend, and it's $850 to have this workshop. And we only took part of the workshop, a simple part of it, and turned it into a 5-hour workshop. And they converted it. We did simultaneous translation. They made all of our slides in Spanish, and we did our first pilot workshop about 4 years ago. And the couples just loved it. And they began to take it out to their community, and they started teaching other couples, just like Harville said they would do. And the mayor had set up a mayor's poverty task force. And the mayor heard about it, and the man who heads up the mayor's poverty task force, and he said, wow, people who have something to give, the haves come to this part of Dallas and give to the have-nots. But it doesn't work very good at anything that's really helpful. When you come to this part of Dallas that it's such a struggling population. There's so much teen pregnancy. There's so much, so many broken homes. And Dallas is the second highest poverty rate of any city in the country. If we can help those families learn how to talk to each other, we're empowering the family to help themselves. We're not doing something for them. We're giving them the tools to communicate better so they can both end up getting what they want from each other so they don't divorce or they don't leave their families. So they really got it. So our work began to spread in the low-income part of Dallas, and now it's moving into other parts of Dallas. We call our work in Dallas, we turned it into, it did become an organization. We call our work Relationships First, and we're training people in this, something called Safe Conversations. So anyone can come for training that wants to be trained in this.
Wonderful. And you can find both of this in the website, relationshipsfirst.org. If all of you who are listening, if you go to Relationships First, relationship with an S, relationshipsfirst.org. And you can learn about safe conversation there. And you can also have the workshop that Helen and Harville were talking about, and you can also download it from there. You can buy it from there for $29.99. That's fantastic for someone to be able to get such a jewel of simple tools.
For about another week we're doing our workshop that's been filmed. We're you can buy it and view it in your home.
Yes.
And all you have to do is pay for the manual. So it's for a limited time only that you can see the workshop by video. And as this works in one city, we're training people, and they're wanting to take it to other cities.
Mm-hmm.
So we think in time, this idea is going to move to other cities.
Yeah.
So it's a very exciting work.
Yes. I've been a therapist for 27 years, and I think I've come to to learn Imago probably around 17 years ago. There isn't a day that I don't utilize Imago theory and interventions in the couples work that I do. It is totally a jewel. It is simple way that you give to people in how to communicate, and that communication can, as you said, happen not only in between couples, but parent and child, people at work, people that you know, among friends. It's when you learn the techniques of conversing, being curious, being interested in the other person, knowing how to say things, anything without the negativity, and for them to feel belittled, that as you say, the space between any relationship will be love, will be caring and connection. If you could give one piece of advice to couples within the last 5 minutes that we have, can I ask each one of you to give one advice that would be a jewel for them that they can take from this conversation?
Well, I'll give one. It's important to learn to ask for what you want, using something we call sender responsibility. Like, be responsible as you send your message about what you want. If you ask your partner with a kind tone of voice and a kind look in your eye, and in a clever way, with a hug, for things that you want, that are things that they can do, and they get into a habit of doing a few things now and then that you want, and you then thank them for that, they're going to want to do more. And this you do instead of complaining about what you're not getting from your partner.
So true. So true.
I think the clue I would give is the thing that has transformed our relationship was the discovery of the power of zero negativity. And even if you fail to be fully zero negative, the intention to be zero negative has its own positive impact, both on the relationship and on yourself, because with the intention, you will eventually grow into decreasing reactivity with your partner. So the little formula is remove the negativity from the relationship, like your relationship is a garden. Remove the negativity, like weeds. Take out the weeds of the garden. And then the second piece is affirmations. You have to put something in the garden, which is the seed and the water and the fertilizer and so forth. So you take out the negative, put in the positive every day, not just occasionally, but every day, and sort of keep a record of it. And in about 30 days, if a couple will commit to that, zero negativity and an affirmation, at least 1 to 3 affirmations a day, they will experience, we have couples who are beta test and have the data on it, they will experience a radical shift in the relationship away from the anxiety that produces tension toward a feeling of safety that produces a sense of well-being and connection.
Thank you. And I want to appreciate you. We only have a couple of seconds left. I really want to appreciate you, and I hope that we could add appreciation to all of the things you said for couples. But to appreciate the two of you for so many years of dedication, bringing beautiful, beautiful interventions, theories, thought process, and your heart, and not only to all of us who are therapists, who are couples, who are people out there, but also to bring your own vulnerability. Look at everything and how it worked in your home and in your heart, and shifting and changing and presenting it to the world, and now presenting it to different segments of the society. So I personally thank you, and I personally thank you for all of my clients who have utilized everything that you have brought for us. So I just really want to appreciate both of you for doing that. Thank you for coming to my show.
Well, we appreciate you talking with us in the presence of other people, so that we can hear about your wonderful comments that you're telling us, but also you are the mediator to other people and who are listening to you. So thank you for being co-distributors of the ideas.
Thank you.
And we wish you a happy Valentine's Day.
Yes. And for all of you who are listening with your heart, thank you for being here. Happy Valentine. I wish that love just fills every part of yourself today and every day, and that you can create and regenerate that love. Create a wonderful, wonderful world for yourself and everyone around you. Till next week. Bye-bye.
You're listening to The Inner Voice with Dr. Foojan Zeine, only on LA Talk Radio.